Hey, everybody. Thank you for waking up with us. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Kevin Miller in the morning on KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. And yesterday, as I do each and every afternoon, like you, I was listening to Sean Hannity. And what I was listening to, I couldn't believe my ears. And if you missed the Sean Hannity show yesterday, this is a clip that has gone viral. And this is a clip that shows you what we're all up against when it comes to the news media. The news media that wants to hijack this administration. The news media that can't take that Donald Trump is at over 50%. The news media that whatever Donald Trump does is wrong, and instead of taking it like most wishy-washy politicians, Donald Trump fights back. Donald Trump punches them in the nose. The media is like that bully in high school or middle school or wherever, right? It's that classic bully. They can dish it out, but the media can't take it. Now, I have a lot of respect for Sarah Sanders, the White House press secretary. She does an incredible job. In fact, it's amazing to me we were all there in the White House briefing room when Josh Earnest was there. There was 10 reporters, John Decker and myself, and the deference that Mr. Earnest received from the media. And whether it was Sean Spicer, whether it's the President of the United States, whether it's Sarah Sanders, the media is on the witch hunt to destroy them. And by the way, how many people really believe this Russian hoax? Let me sidebar for a moment, Your Honor. How would you like to be Paul Manafort? Okay, at least Corey Lewandowski, the unknown kid from New Hampshire, the little pugnacious former state trooper, at least he got a run out of it and became somebody for managing the improbable rise of Donald Trump. Having known Mr. Lewandowski through my family, shocking that happened. Manafort, a creature of Washington, going back to Bob Dole. And I'm thinking Bob Dole in 76, not Bob Dole in 88. So you get a call, hey, we need you. This convention is going crazy. The Cruz conservatives could hijack this thing. Boom. So what happens next? He goes in. He gets fired, and now they charge him. The FBI comes into his house. The FBI grabs all of his things. The FBI accuses him of colluding. They revoke his, parole, his bail, right? They do all these crazy things. If you're Manafort, you didn't get anything out of it, did you? Of course not. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You heard at Fox News at the top of the hour, poor little Manafort, heck, the crimes they're charging him with is being successful in America. Finally, the judge said, there's no crime against being rich. This has nothing to do with the Russian probe. But they're trying to ruin people. Now, we've seen documentaries on this. Maybe we've been a part of it. I will say that, unfortunately, unknowingly, I was part of one of the bigger stories that ever happened, the Duke lacrosse case. 3 young men, their careers, 4 really when you count the coach Mike Pressler, destroyed because of accusations. And we always wondered, and I remember Patriot Ray saying this when we would do the Saturday morning show, and he would come in at 5 a.m. And Patriot Ray, God love him, he would actually be here before I would get here. He'd be here before our friend Ronaldo would get here. And he'd be sitting in his van raring to go. And he'd have his talking points. And I was thankful for that because I usually woke up once the show was over. But he said he echoed the comments of so many people, not only here in the great state of Idaho, in the Treasure Valley, but across the country. When are we going to have somebody that speaks our language, that doesn't talk down to us, and is going to hold these folks accountable? And we see that now with Donald Trump. Now, if you didn't hear what Sean had to say yesterday, he just played a clip and then moved on with his show. I want to get your reaction to this because this comes down to people acting inappropriately. This comes down to the media not reporting the news but having an agenda to destroy people. And it's an interchange between Sarah Sanders and Jim Acosta from CNN. And Sarah Sanders is a wife. She's a daughter. She's a mom of 3. Really spells out what it's like to be a target of the media.
I wanted to follow up on Sarah's question from NPR. She asked you about Ivanka Trump's statement that the press is not the enemy of the people. And she asked you whether or not the press is the enemy of the people. You read off a laundry list of your concerns about the press and things that you feel like are misreported, but you did not say that the press is not the enemy of the people. And I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we deserve that.
I think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic. I'm trying to answer your question. Okay, well, I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague. Well, I said it's ironic.
Which is why I interrupted.
I'm trying.
But if you finish, if you would not mind letting me have a follow-up, that would be fine. But
it's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric, when they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
And there we have it. Here's someone who is harassed. Here's someone who, is trying to do their job. And the media will not let her be. You know what they want her to do? They want her to quit. They want her to say that the media is not the enemy of the state. And we will get to that. We will get to your questions on that, or your answers to that question, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. I would have to say that I think the media has an agenda, and they are not friendlies when it comes to this administration. By the way, congratulations to Jerry Kramer, long overdue for being inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Brilliant to have Jerry here in the Treasure Valley, and I know his family has been working on that for years. And to all the great Vandals, one of your own is finally recognized for his great work. Let's get to the phones on KIDO Talk Radio, now available on 107.5 FM, our flagship 580 AM with Kevin Miller in the morning. We start with Liberty Linda. Good morning, Liberty Linda.
Good morning, Kevin. I now believe Donald Trump is the greatest president we have had since George Washington. And I also believe Abraham Lincoln, John F. Kennedy, and Ronald Reagan are cheering him from heaven. And the reason I believe that is because he is saving the nation they put so much energy and work for, and even their own lives, Kevin. And I also believe that last night I heard our president, word for word, something I heard on your show. And I've heard that before, Kevin. And I actually believe, I know he listens to your show. You aren't just wonderful to us. Anyone else that listens to you are very, very special. And when we say you're special, the people that call in and know you, we really mean it. So last night, when I heard it again, it was almost like word for word that I've heard on your show just recently. I truly believe he listens to you.
Well, Liberty Linda, if the president is listening now, we'd love to bring him to Idaho, and we'd love to thank him for everything he's doing for us. What did you make? And thank you for the sweet compliment, the compliments, and for listening. What did you make of Jim Acosta and Sarah Sanders there, how he treated her?
I thought it was, I thought she was absolutely wonderful. We are so tired of them bullying us and all that she has been through. She's been attacked. Just because she's a woman, they think they can get away with this. I think she is absolutely wonderful. And the way she spoke out, I was so proud of her. And you could tell she was shaking. And she has been through so much. But I think she is wonderful at her job. She was chosen wisely, let's say. If you remember that movie.
Sure.
Anyway, yeah, I think she was chosen wisely. I was overwhelmed with what she said, and she was right on. Let's put it that way.
I would agree. Liberty Linda, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Kevin, for being there for us.
All right. God bless.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up, more of your phone calls. If you're just waking up, getting your reaction to Jim accosted, going after Sarah Sanders. What will they stoop to next? What can we do to support America? That and more with me, Kevin Miller, next on KIDO Talk Radio.
First of all, let me just speak on behalf of my CNN colleagues in knowing that no one ever called for the press secretary to be choked or harassed from this network, number one. And number two,
exactly
why
right.
can't this White House acknowledge that the media is not the enemy of the people?
Sadly, Brooke, I think what you saw happen here at the end of that briefing was the true feelings of the president, the true feelings of many of the people who work in this administration laid bare. They believe, it appears in their heart of hearts, that the journalists who cover this White House, the journalists who work in this city, who were just trying a few moments ago to hold some of these officials accountable about attacks on our democracy, that the people here who work at this White House all the way up to the president evidently believe that journalists are the enemy of the people.
There we have it from the Jake Tapper show last night. Brooke Baldwin filling in. Kevin Miller in the morning. Good morning. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. We will get to that question if you want to answer it. Do you believe that journalists are enemies of the state? I believe they have their own interest, and they don't align with conservative America, and we've seen that for the past few years, many years, right? When they seek to tear down the Republicans, there certainly, at the very least, is a double standard. Good morning, David. You're on with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio.
Yes, thank you for doing this topic. I feel like a mosquito at a nudist camp. I know what I want to do, but there's so much. 21 years ago, a Democrat named Dick Morris said of the line, remember when Newt Gingrich wanted the Healthcare Finance Authority to go away? And he said, this is what we're trying to get rid of in Russia because it's big government. And he said, we're going to provide an opportunity and people are going to leave it. And he said, we don't get rid of it all at once because it's not politically smart, but we believe it's going to wither on the vine because we believe people will leave it voluntarily. They took out everything he said before or behind that statement, wither on the vine. And that became Newt Gingrich and the Republicans want Medicare, not the Healthcare Finance Authority, to wither on the vine. He said, I don't know who it was who didn't fight that, but I'd like to meet him and I'd like to thank him. He credited that lie, which the prostitutes handed us. And they've amplified. They are megaphones for the Democrats. They are PR agents for the Democrats. Remember David Duke? Twice in 2 years, the Republicans ran against him. They ran his political opponent. You know, the bumper sticker, vote for the crook, was Bill Bennett. Vote for the crook. It's important. You know, his felonious, philandering, more recently, opponent Eddie Edwards. Look him up. See what a dirtbag he was. And the Republicans said, we'd rather have him in office. more recently, remember the map with the crosshairs on districts? And then all of a sudden, Democrats could see a face in that district, and it was Sarah Palin got Gabby Gifford shot by putting crosshairs on her face. Meanwhile, let's remember the softball game, ironically, on Flag Day last year. 32 Republicans were almost murdered. 32. 32. And the reason they weren't is because the best antidote for a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Remember that? If Solis, the guy who had been shot the worst except for the guards, had not been there, they would have, that man, Bernie Bro, would have shot 32 people. Now, if somebody makes an outrageous statement on the right, okay, call them on it. But I have a question for you, and I apologize because this is getting on the breakfast hour for some people. But can you imagine Steve Allen or Jack Parr, I think Johnny Carson would come a few months later, about the lunch counter protests? Can you say, look, you don't want to go in there. I mean, you don't want to eat there. They're going to the bathroom in your food. I'm sorry, but that's what Trevor Noah said. So Republicans, we should be chased out, or people should do unspeakable things to our food. Was he called on it for his mean-spiritedness? No. The prostitutes have one standard for us, and they have another entire standard for the Democrats. And, you know, can I say something? Because you don't have it, and I don't have it. That blind hatred that doesn't want the wrong people to cross the tracks and live in their neighborhood. Well, they don't want us to cross the political tracks. And, you know, they will throw a brick through our window. They will punch us in the face. Remember #Hunt Republicans that came out a week after the shooting? Of course you don't, because nobody does. But I don't have the hatred that would put on a white sheet. They do. It's just manifests itself against a different person. And they absolutely hate, and they, you know, maybe the Brooke Baldwins and the Jim Acostas are white citizens council level bigots. You know, maybe they'd never put on a sheet and, you know, burn a cross on someone's lawn, so to speak. But they don't want the wrong people living in their neighborhood, going to school with their kids.
Right. I mean, I'm
pool.
sure, David, they would want all the illegals to come in and, you know, live in their own homes. David, thank you for the call and listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Traffic and weather together. Our time is 6:26.
Rick Everett.
Around the globe, people know what they see, and what they see are their bonuses, their raises, the deregulation, the historic tax cuts. They have confidence in this economy, and they're spending more of their money. I was at that rally tonight with the president. I participated in the roundtable with him ahead of time also. People are absolutely buoyant. They know that beginning with Hillary Clinton, they were referred to as irredeemable and deplorable and looked down upon. They know that Barack Obama, when he was running for president, said these people who cling to their God and their guns and their, he's had other things to say, just always dismissing them. And this is why it's a very important point. I'm not sure they care anymore. I speak to these people all the time. You know what they care about? They care that they have a president who respects and takes action daily for the military, for the veterans, and for them. And look, let's not mistake what's going on here too. A lot of these journalists have very expensive 7-figure contracts, go on late night TV where they can yuck it up with somebody similarly situated. You could just laugh all day long, particularly about the women of the Trump administration. Then they go and give speeches. I mean, they speak for free every single day, and half the country doesn't, well, most of the country doesn't listen to them. But then somebody pays them a lot of money to give speeches. Yeah. So they're raking it in. Listen, Donald Trump is absolutely right. President Trump, Laura, is absolutely correct when he says nobody's ever been better for the media than him. The ratings, certainly the revenues, the popularity of some of these
Kellyanne,
journalists.
I gotta jump in here because
And there we have it, Kellyanne Conway with our own Laura Ingraham. And remember, when you hear Fox News on the radio, you're listening to KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Coming up next, more of your phone calls. We'll hear from Cindy. We'll hear from Liberal Steve. And if you're just waking up, the shocking attack from Jim Acosta from CNN on Sarah Sanders, and she did not tolerate it one bit. You have to hear it. That's coming up next with me, Kevin Miller, on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Doug.
Good morning, Kevin.
And coming up, do you believe the press is the enemy? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I believe that it is. In addition to that, Sarah Sanders versus Jim Acosta. A lot going on today at 580-5436. Want to thank everyone who had us out yesterday at the Flying M in Caldwell. Great time as well. By the way, breaking news, U.S. economy adds less than expected jobs. Unemployment dips to 3.9% under the Trump administration. Before we get to Cindy, before we get to Liberal Steve, we are waiting for Tanya J. Powers of Fox News Radio. Remember, when you hear KIDO Talk Radio, you're listening to Fox News in the Treasure Valley.
In response to CNN's Jim Acosta asking White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders to weigh in on whether the media is the enemy of the people, Sanders lashed out at the press for a number of personal attacks.
The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked.
Acosta taking to Twitter to call Sanders not answering his question shameful. Before his exit, the press secretary explained.
I've addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the president. He's made his comments clear.
I'm Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
And coming up, we'll get your thoughts on that in a minute. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Don't forget as well, coming up tomorrow, our friend Dave Petzo will be in. And we can't wait to hear what he has to say concerning Facebook and Twitter and all your money news. Money Matters, 8 to 10 Saturdays on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go live to Capitol Hill, exclusively with Rachel Sutherland of Fox News Radio, with the latest on Paul Manafort and his trial. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So how would you like to be Paul Manafort? You come in, you get him through the convention, you get the boot, and now you're on trial. Oh, my.
Wow. Yeah, I have a theory, and it's not backed up by any kind of science, but my theory is getting into politics raises your chances of going to jail by like 80%. Because you're high profile, right? I mean, even if he did this stuff, we don't know that he did, it would never probably have been discovered, right? But because he was in the limelight and it's the harsh glare, then people surrounding presidents often end up in jail.
It goes back to there is a much higher probability, Rachel. There is indeed. And, listening to the Fox News report at the top of the hour, this doesn't really even have anything to do with the Russians. It's something different, what he's on trial for?
Yeah, that's right. This is it was uncovered by the special counsel. These charges were filed. They stem from the investigation. And what he's alleging, the special counsel says that Paul Manafort laundered money. So he's trying to hide money, he says, tried to avoid paying taxes. He was doing business overseas in Ukraine and all around and spending tons of money. In fact, the prosecution has been building their case on the fact that Manafort apparently spent tons of money and had bad taste, like $18,000 on a python jacket, some kind of outfit with ostrich feathers or something. And he spent millions of dollars on audio-video systems for his home, $10,000 on a karaoke system at his Hamptons home. Can you imagine that? I really can't picture Paul Manafort singing karaoke.
I could. Barry Manilow's Copacabana comes to mind.
Right, and then wearing his python jacket or whatever.
Yeah.
He must have some great parties. But, look, I mean, the judge in the case is saying that it's no crime to be rich in America. Like this, basically telling the prosecution they're going to have to step it up. But, right, this has nothing to do with Russia. In fact, the judge has said that witnesses cannot even say the word Russia. They can't even say the word oligarch.
Well, and getting back to your point, it seems that he's being prosecuted for being successful. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they have something more.
They may. I mean, I can't say whether or not they've proven their case, and I won't even go there. But because again, if you're high profile, you're associated with someone who's extremely controversial. And all the folks like if you think about Michael Flynn, the former national security advisor, it wasn't even stuff that he did that got him in trouble was lying to the FBI, apparently. He's pleaded guilty. So, again, another one who's high profile, associated with a high-profile campaign, now copping a plea deal to avoid going to jail.
Rachel,
so, I don't know about you. I'm staying out of politics.
I'm with you. Finally, I guess, shockingly, this trial is going to wrap up soon. The judge wants this thing over and done with. He doesn't want it going on and on.
That's right. And it's really going to hinge on the testimony of Rick Gates if he testifies. That's Manafort's former business partner. I guess maybe he could have something that could nail down a conviction. But at this point, and it's interesting, even though this isn't associated with the Mueller probe necessarily, I mean, as far as Russia's concerned, it is the first test of the Mueller team and their ability to prosecute these cases. So it does give some indication as to how successful the special counsel's office might be in other cases.
Rachel Sutherland, we always appreciate you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning. If you're just waking up, taking your phone calls on the big story of the day, a showdown at the White House, Jim Acosta going after Sarah Sanders. We'll get your calls, and if you haven't heard it, we'll give that to you in a minute. First, Cindy in Caldwell with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Cindy.
Yes, good morning, Kevin. What a pleasure to see you yesterday, looking so wholesome, and doing a great job presenting that event tonight in Caldwell. Listen, you know what? She wouldn't say it, but I will say it. The press in general is nothing but a part of the massive administrative, big government, progressive left. Their value systems and norms, whether it be going after and trying to start, here we go again, it's like the Chinese and the Cultural Revolution where they were murdering people because they were doctors, because they had glasses. You know, so someone is rich. There's not a thing biblically that says it's not the money. It's what you do with your money, and you have every right, contrary to the Barack Hussein Obama. If you make money, you can go spend it any way you want. So they are everything, and they always have been for ginning up hatred. And I mean, I will even say, not only with the case of Steve Scalise, you get very unstable people and you just keep firing them up, whether it be Maxine Waters, Peter Nero, whoever have you. This is what you get. And then you will be their target. Thank God today, right over here in, I believe it starts today, that Dinesh D'Souza, he was always also at the point of their spear when they went after him, but he did another movie. Now his movie's coming out. It's called Death of a Nation. And apparently what they really want is, this is a constitutional republic, and they would love nothing better than turning this into a third world country, also to be as amoral and to continue their agenda. So however they go about it, Kevin Miller, I'm going to tell you one thing. I sometimes can't listen to Sean, but I do wake up every day because you are in what I call, I don't know who's in the Hall of Fame of America. I really don't, but I know for a fact that in the Hebrews Hall of Fame, people that remain faithful, you are one of them. You remain faithful to your values of conservatism, for putting out simple, what is the statement? God, family, country values. So you just keep pressing on, and I'm so glad she puts back. And look what would happen if you ever said the things that they said, and I'm glad my dear friend Sarah Palin came up again. They character assassinated her. Anybody that comes alongside, they don't want conversation. They want you to fall into this sort of one world think, their value system. They just wanted, just like they did the Jews in the Old Testament, to shove their pork right down your throat and just smile as they're doing it. So good for you, Kevin. You stay strong, stay looking good, and I hope to see you after you have some time off that you well deserved.
Thank you, Cindy, and thank you. You take care.
Hey, all right, Kevin. Press on. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 580-5436. 580-KIDO. We go to a man who promises to show up and hasn't delivered in quite some time. Liberal Steve with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, sir.
Shame on Cindy. Come on, Cindy. You're the poster child for unstable. Sarah Sanders Huckabee. If you can't take the heat, Sarah, typical millennium. You know, she was born August 13th, 1982. Typical, can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Answer the question, Sarah. Is the media the enemy of the people? Yes or no? Sarah, yes or no? Sarah, yes or no? Conservatives are destroying America along with the Huckabees. Governor of Arkansas, our daddy. Come on. They're all hypocritical.
You know, it seems like you're writing your scripts now these days. Are you reading off a teleprompter?
Yeah, I got my crayons out this morning there, Miller Diller.
It sounds like it is written in crayon or maybe color by numbers or something of that
Have you got your teddy bears and your stuffed animals all lined up around your microphone this morning, Kevin?
I'm hugging one right now.
Yeah, you're just as lunatic. You're a bug. You're a nut job. You're an extremist. You're just like all the rest.
And if that were the case, I would never personally attack you, but one could by saying if I'm that, then you would be a liberal loon.
I'm a lunatic.
And if the shoe fits, wear it.
Yeah,
a loon from Libville.
I'd walk a mile in your shoes, Kevin, but clown shoes never have.
Although you did say you were going to show up a few times, and once again, you didn't.
I did show up incognito. I was wearing my Dylan shoes. I was there. You just didn't. Hey,
really?
I thought it was great.
What color shirt was I wearing yesterday?
Now, I'm supposed to remember stuff like colors of shirt. Come on, Miller.
If you were there, you would remember.
I was there.
Right.
I was there. Arthur Street. Line M.
You know, sometimes you just have to laugh. Pete from Mountain Home with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin is a member of the vast right-wing conspiracy, the basket of deplorables, the bitter clingers, and all the rest. I would have to agree with the president that the left-wing media, which is really the Democrat propaganda ministry, they are the enemy of the people. And I have some great quotes here from a recent New York Times editorial hire named Sarah Jeong, Jeong, and says, "We hired Sarah Jeong because of the exceptional work she has done. Her journalism and the fact that she is a young Asian woman have made her a subject of frequent online harassment. And she regrets that she used the language of harassers. But they said they're confident she will be an important voice for the editorial board moving forward." And if I may quote some of her comments on Twitter, let's see, July 14, "Oh man, it's kind of sick how much joy I get out of being cruel to old white men." And then she compared dumbass effing white people to dogs, said that old white men were lemmings, opined that white people would go extinct soon, and used the hashtag cancel white people. And then she said, "Are white people genetically predisposed to burn faster in the sun, thus logically being only fit to live underground like groveling goblins?" And added that whiteness resulted in being awful. And this is the voice of the New York Times, the new young voice of the New York Times. So yeah, they're the enemy of the people. You know, we had an election where, following the Constitution of the United States, Donald Trump won really overwhelmingly in the Electoral College. And the left-wing media hates that. They don't like the Electoral College. They want us to be a, quote, democracy, unquote, not a republic. And a democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting on what to have for dinner. And you look at what goes on in places like Venezuela and other socialist dictatorships. That's what the left wants in this country. And yeah, I agree with the president. They are the enemy of the people.
Pete, thank you for the call.
You bet.
Coming up next, we'll hear from you, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
On Sarah's question from NPR, she asked you about Ivanka Trump's statement that the press is not the enemy of the people. And she asked you whether or not the press is the enemy of the people. You read off a laundry list of your concerns about the press and things that you feel like are misreported, but you did not say that the press is not the enemy of the people. And I think it would be a good thing if you were to say right here at this briefing that the press, the people who are gathered in this room right now, doing their jobs every day, asking questions of officials like the ones you brought forward earlier, are not the enemy of the people. I think we deserve that.
I think the president has made his position known. I also think it's ironic. I'm trying to answer your question. Okay, well, I politely waited, and I even called on you despite the fact that you interrupted me while calling on your colleague. Well, I said it's ironic.
Which is why I interrupted.
I'm trying.
But if you finish, if you would not mind letting me have a follow-up, that would be fine. But
it's ironic, Jim, that not only you and the media attack the president for his rhetoric when they frequently lower the level of conversation in this country. Repeatedly, the media resorts to personal attacks without any content other than to incite anger. The media has attacked me personally on a number of occasions, including your own network, said I should be harassed as a life sentence, that I should be choked. ICE officials are not welcomed in their place of worship, and personal information is shared on the Internet. When I was hosted by the Correspondents Association, of which almost all of you are members of, you brought a comedian up to attack my appearance and call me a traitor to my own gender. In fact, as I know, as far as I know, I'm the first press secretary in the history of the United States that's required Secret Service protection. The media continues to ratchet up the verbal assault against the president and everyone in this administration, and certainly we have a role to play, but the media has a role to play for the discourse in this country as well.
And sir, if you don't mind, if I may follow up, excuse me, you did not say in the course of those remarks that you just made that the press is not the enemy of the people. Are we to take it from what you just said? We all get put through the ringer. We all get put in the meat grinder in this town, and you're no exception. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. I wish that had not happened. But for the sake of this room, the people who are in this room, this democracy, this country, all the people around the world are watching what you're saying, Sarah, and the White House for the United States of America, the President of the United States should not refer to us as the enemy of the people. His own daughter acknowledges that, and all I'm asking you to do, Sarah, is to acknowledge that right now and right here.
I appreciate your passion. I share it. I've addressed this question. I've addressed my personal feelings. I'm here to speak on behalf of the president. He's made his comments clear.
There we have it, by the way, Sarah Sanders versus the press. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Now, here's what Nicole Wallace had to say, a Republican on this.
What? Guess who retweeted that? The President of the United States. Classy guys. Sarah Huckabee Sanders was asked about this in today's briefing. Her first answer was a recounting of the responsibilities of the press. So they tried again.
Look, does the White House support that or not? While we certainly support freedom of the press, we also support freedom of speech, and we think that those things go hand in hand.
Joining us now, New York Times chief White. You know, we're not going to air that anymore. Let's make that the last Sarah Huckabee Sanders clip ever aired at 4 o'clock. Yeah, that's it.
There we have it. That's from Nicole Wallace, who worked in the Bush administration. And you see the establishment Republicans, you see the liberal press. They can dish it out, folks, but they can't take it. Well, we hope you stay with us because we want to hear what you have to say next about the press being upset with being called out by the administration. Do you agree with their assessment?